So thank you very much, Danny, for coming to my podcast, Business Breakthroughs. We recently met like two weeks ago in Edinburgh, and then seems like you are an action taker because I invited you to come and you booked it. You found a slot, and here we are speaking right away. So that's very good. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it you do? Because I know you shared some things with me, but not with the listeners. So tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Danny. I have been working in the health, fitness, and wellbeing space for the last 12 years. And I first started out on the gym floor, as quite a lot of people do, moved into personal training, and then started my own business. And during lockdown is when I moved my whole business online and started doing online sessions and kind of building that. And I have evolved a lot over the years, which meant my business has also evolved with me. I think the two come hand in hand. And now the work that I do with my clients is very holistic. So it's not just, focused on exercise and nutrition. It's about, their stress management, their mindset, all of this combined. So I delve very deep with my clients. So that's what I do. I am born and bred in Scotland, Italian. My parents are Italian, but I can't speak any, which is terrible. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell, really.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. So tell me about you said you have a business for 12 years, but in the lockdown, you had to transition. So tell me about that transition because people are going through different kind of transitions now, maybe not the lockdown, but now maybe more an AI transition where, people are scared they're going to get replaced with AI or they need to learn new tools to use and they're kind of afraid. So that could be their transition right now. But maybe from experience, what you had to do when the lockdown happened, you can maybe remember and share some things which maybe were good and maybe some of them which were.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, when lockdown hit, it was obviously a very stressful time, but it was a bit of a blessing for me because I had been trying to move my business online for quite some time and was finding it quite difficult. But for me, I was like, okay, this is my chance now to go all in. I had more time, I had more mental capacity and energy to build what I wanted to build. Um, and whilst it was stressful, it was also really exciting because it was like the beginning of like a whole new chapter. Um, and I think for me, kind of everything had to change because, you go from being around people and, focusing on, human connection to being behind a screen, which we all had to do during COVID. And that can be quite overwhelming. But I think for me, it's, it can be overwhelming when you're transitioning whatever it may be in business. And I think it's trying to not try and do everything all at once. And it's just trying to focus on one small thing at a time and realize that, okay, you don't have to have it all figured out right away. You kind of figure things out as you go. And uh, I think you have to be a messy action taker when you run your own business. You probably agree, but I think nothing's ever going to be perfect. You have no idea what's going to go wrong from a tech standpoint, from, clients, things as well. There's always going to be something. You kind of just have to figure it out as you go in a sense. And honestly, that's what I did. I had an idea in my mind of, what I wanted to create. I created a first off a group program online for people to join. Um, and I figured it out as I went. I thought, right, okay, what do I need? What's the minimum stuff that I need for people to be able to join this and for it to work? And there was things going wrong. There was, lots of things happening, and I just figured it out as I went. So I think when you're transitioning, no matter what it may be, just be okay with it not being perfect and like be okay with figuring it out as you go. I think that's like my biggest piece of advice because there's always going to be something that doesn't go to plan. And I am a big believer as well, like especially now in times with AI and there's so much change in technology. Like w everything's moving so quickly, we can't possibly always keep up with it, but just taking it as it comes and doing what you can and evolving with it. I think we as humans, we evolve multiple times in our in our lifetime, and it's just learning to work with it, isn't it? So yeah.
Good. Thank you.
You're
I really
welcome.
like what you mentioned in here. Be a messy action taker because I believe in that too, because there is a lot of people when we are chatting with them, either through calls or masterminds, and very often people are like, no, it needs to be perfect before I'll go live or before I'll present it to potential clients, or it needs to be perfect. I'm like, that's the worst thing ever
Yeah.
because nothing is ever perfect, and then it's stopping them a lot in order moving forward. And it's about offering something, and if you have a business, and then you can always make it better, and then you're gonna just charge more money in the future if you're gonna make it better. That's fine. um, but it's all evolving, and then I think lots of people, they want to be perfect, and that's stopping them a lot. Yeah.
I agree. I think it does hold you back if you're aiming for perfection and you're waiting for something to be perfect. You're just going to be waiting forever because nothing's ever going to be perfect, and it is
Yeah.
it's a block. You're stopping yourself from moving, and I think it's being okay with it not being perfect and just throwing yourself into it and figuring out as you go. It's good to make mistakes. It's good for things to flop. Like the amount of times I've done launches and they've flopped, they've failed, and I'm like, okay, that sucks. What can we do better next time? It helps you learn. If you don't fail, how can you learn from it? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just would like to say one thing in here from, I don't know, from the conversation before. So we recently, with my business partner, we wrote a new book. We are still see how they send it. It's kind of in here, so
Yeah.
we need to redo it. But we are sharing now about four different engines: visibility, authority, scale, and revenue. And it seems like from what you are describing here that on the visibility, it's like you are visible online, you manage to get the clients. Seems like you are having revenue, you are running the business, after the COVID already 6 years and before that as well. So you know how to do that part. Scaling, that's we didn't chat about it yet as much, which we can, which is will be like regarding the AI and some systems. But the one I would like to mention and ask you about is the reason how we met, and it's the authority engine. For us, it's about speaking and being visible on stage in person in front of people. So we obviously met on the Professional Speaking Association in Edinburgh, and you mentioned that you would like to speak more and be more visible in person now, not just online. So can you tell me why?
Yeah, I like this question. So I guess for me, I've been I've been working in this industry a really long time, and for the last 6 years, I've been working behind a screen. Now, I do bring my clients together. We do run events, but I think what I felt running a business is quite lonely in itself, right? Especially when you do it by yourself. But I am such a people person. I love being around people. I don't think anything really beats human connection. What I love about my work that I do is that I can work with clients from all over the world, which is amazing. But what I notice is something really impactful happens when you bring people together, much like the PSA event. It's that energy in the room, it's the excitement, the feeling that you get being around like-minded people. And for me, my purpose has always and drive has always been to have as much impact on people as possible. And I feel like now I want to take the impact I've had with my clients and I want to have a wider impact. And I believe that that can be done through speaking opportunities and standing on stage or running workshops for larger communities to have that wider impact as a collective rather than just my clients on a smaller scale or a one-to-one basis. So that's the main kind of reason why it's coming from an impact standpoint, um, and also because I just know how many people would benefit from that. I see how much my clients and how much I benefit from being around like-minded people and hearing, whatever it is that people have to say. It has such a positive impact, and I just think bringing people together as a collective like that and being able to contribute in some way is so, so powerful. So that's where the drive comes from. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree because not only when you because I speak on stages, and then it's like when you speak, you can impact people. Then
Mhm.
you have that authority because stage gives you immediate authority right away. It's better you speak well, but even just having a photo on stage, even if you are not a good speaker, it already helps you that you spoke somewhere. Ideally, you speak also internationally, and all these things helps because then you can attract more clients, and then you can have a bigger impact, and you can help with that message. And that's one of the reasons why we started doing the masterminds. We actually started the first mastermind before the COVID. We did two small ones in Edinburgh, and then we kind of had to postpone it, and now we are doing it for 3 years. And it's like you mentioned, it's like bringing these people together. We do it for 5 days, so we really build a deep relationship with people over 5 days. But it's about when you are with the right people in the room, then not only you deepen up the conversations you are with like-minded people, but then who knows who, how can I help each other, from, for example, from your health and fitness, that like there's so many people we are already met, like Alexandra from Switzerland, Betty from Amsterdam, and all these connections is like, okay, how can we help each other, who knows who, and what can be done, and how, for example, you like like how can maybe Danny go and speak in Amsterdam, and then build up that stage time, and say like, hey, I spoke in Amsterdam, I spoke in Switzerland, because they run these kind of events as well. So it's all about these connections, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think connections is a really big thing, and like we're saying at the PSA event, building relationships and building those connections. And I actually think now more than ever that's really important. Especially after a time like COVID 6 years ago. Like it's it's just so important to make those connections and also just have like-minded people around you. It just does so much. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah.
Good. So let me tap a little bit into that authority. Tell me a little bit more about if what kind of systems obviously you work online. So there's people, and I know you want to now work more in person and deliver these speeches and have the impact, but obviously you have probably have a lot of systems set up for yourself. So what kind of systems or AI you are utilizing lately, which maybe people can be like, huh, I didn't think of that. Let's me research that. Let me maybe try it. Is there anything you would like to share from what is it you are at the moment using?
I think the systems I use are probably quite bog standard that most people use. Like so for my content and for clients, like for presentations and for graphics and thing, I actually use Canva. Quite a bog standard simple one. But I find that nice and easy to use. So I use that. And I do use ChatGPT for mainly for me, helping me keep organized and any questions that I've got. I haven't used Claude yet, but I've heard very good things. So I'm really keen to learn more about that.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
but
Good.
yeah,
I can send
and
you like 10 videos how to we have a different AI, Profit Mine AI, and we also use Claude a lot. I have created like 10 videos already for my clients and our clients and people who are interested how to use things in combination. So if you want, I'm happy to send you any of these videos so you can
yeah,
learn.
that would be amazing. Thank you. Because I'd really like to learn more about that because I can see how helpful it can be. The only other thing, apart from the software that I use with my clients, the only other thing I use outside with that and Zoom is Notion. So that's kind of where we keep a lot of our portal kind
Yeah.
of stuff. We've got some
Yeah.
automations that go through that,
Hmm.
but that's
Yeah.
about it really. Nothing overly fancy, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be fun. It's important if the business is working, you are making progress, impact for people, helping them, making some money from it, so you can live and and have a good life. So it doesn't need to be complex. Sometimes complexity kills the execution. Sometimes people are too complex, and then and again, nothing is done because it's like, oh, I need to build all these different things, and they never move forward. So it's like I'm just thinking like we started this AI company just this year, and like very first website wasn't the best. Like it's there. We just built it quickly just to have there something. But now actually AI built newer version, and it's not about being again like perfect. It's just about like we can upgrade later. So
Hmm.
important it's working for sure. So when you mentioned about the like all the different things with health and fitness, but then you mentioned about holistics. So what specifically are you doing for your clients? So if you imagine like, okay, I need help with my health,
Hmm.
what is it we would be doing and working on? Like how that would work. So if somebody is kind of listening, is like, okay, and maybe they need some help. So kind of a little bit understanding, because some people, they when they hear a holistic, they're like, no, but I want to know.
Yeah, so I'll always have a consultation call with the client first to hear more about where they're at, what it is that they're struggling with in particular, delve deeper into that, and then look at actually how they want to feel and where they'd like to be, in 6 months, a year's time. Um, and that's kind of the beginning stages. And what I then do there is just analyze, okay, what are the areas that we really need to work on the most? Because I find that there's a lot of coaches out there that will give clients a plan and give them everything to do all at once. And that is the worst thing you can do because it can be very overwhelming. So, what I do with my clients, kind of pinpoint the areas that need the work most and start there and lay the foundations, and then start to build on those foundations as those habits, become more ingrained in their day to day life. So, I'll look at, their morning and evening routines. I will look at their exercise habits and also their experience with exercise, depending on what it is that they're looking to do. Their nutritional habits is always a very big one that we delve into. Also their how stressed they are on a daily basis. Like, I want to know as much information as possible from that client. Like, what do you do for work? How stressed are you? What commitments do you have? Do you have family commitments? But a big part of the work that I do is behavior change. It's about behavior change and also mindset work as well. Because a lot of the sticking points that most people have is a barrier created by their own mind. And a lot of people tend to struggle with things like self sabotage, and that's a mindset issue, not a necessarily a habitual issue. So, some clients I do delve a lot deeper from a mindset perspective to figure out why it is they keep coming into self sabotage. And that might look like things like, all or nothing mentality or emotional eating, for example, which is quite common. Figuring out where the triggers are, where the triggers lie, and then working to change that. So a lot of it is behavioral change as well as mindset work, along with, nutritional habits and exercise habits as well. So
Mhm.
that first call is all about analyzing where they're at and then giving them some key things to focus on for the first stage. So usually I'll set them their routine, whether that's their exercise and nutrition, first and foremost, along with a few key habits. And then we'll build upon those as time goes on. So there's a lot that we cover, but I tend to focus on just a few key things first and then build from there because otherwise, if we throw too much, it becomes so overwhelming and then we think, how on earth am I supposed to sustain that? It's not realistic. Um, so it's an ongoing process for sure. And the communication is a big part obviously of what I do. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Building the new habits is tough.
Hmm.
Yeah. I have changed dentists, I think, a year ago. And then they said, like, do you use the normal toothbrush or the electric? I'm like, normal. And like, the electric would be better. It can go and that. And I'm like, yeah, sure, sure, sure. 3 months later, did you buy one? Do you have it? I'm like, no. And it was like that for a year. And then I've been to the dentist like 2 weeks ago, and she asked me again. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna buy one. so
Yeah.
so now I have it. Now I have it. But it took me a whole year before I changed it, because I had needed that reminder and again and again. If I would just go to the dentist once and then 2 years from there, I wouldn't change that. But
Hmm.
because they said like, hey, you need to work on that. You need to come here more often. So then I'm like, okay, which I want. So so by reminding me all the time, so I was ready to do that change. But
Yeah.
takes time. Takes time.
It does. It's hard building a new habit because it requires so much conscious like thinking and doing, and it's a lot of effort. Whereas something that's already a habit, it's subconscious, right? So we don't have to think about it. Like driving your car, you don't really have to think about it because you've done it subconsciously for so long now. Brushing your teeth, again, a habit that you've done for so long. But if you have to change something about that, you have to actively, consciously be aware and think about it. And that requires so much effort. But it's easier to revert to the subconscious habits because they don't require us to think. So it
Yeah.
is hard to build a new habit and it really is. It takes time.
Actually, especially when there is not immediate like a suffering from that or something like that, where this is what we've done a few times already with Tony Robbins, like a Dickens process, bringing that future closer to you. So you realize that you need to do those changes, because it's like, you have that with your teeth, and then if you do nothing, like in 30 years, they can fall off. It's like, okay, it's not going to happen today, tomorrow, right? So it's like when it's not that urgent, you kind of postpone it.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything common when people speak to you about what you usually it's like, okay, you tell the people every single time or 80% of the time, because this is a common thing they need to do and work on in
Mhm.
order to improve their health?
Yes, and usually I'd say the first one is drink more water because the amount
I,
of
I, I
people
I thought it would be that one. Yeah.
yeah, the amount of people that I speak to who just don't drink enough water baffles me, and every time I speak about this, I get thirsty, but that would be number 1. Number 2 would be, there'll always be something around nutrition. So a lot of people struggle with emotional eating, that's quite common, stress eating or boredom eating, um, and also portion control. A lot of people do find that they eat too much in a meal because they don't really know how to monitor their portion sizes or how much they should be eating. So I'd say those 2 would be the main ones. Um, I'd say those 2 would be the main ones. There's usually a few others, but they would be the main ones. It's always around nutrition or hydration. There's always around those that tend to be the ones people struggle with the most, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps a lot. So I'm just thinking backward. So in 2023, I've been on the UPW with Tony Robbins here in the UK for the event. Have you ever been?
I haven't, no, no.
No, no, no. You should do that. He's in Cologne in Germany in September. I was last year, sending my wife this year. It's a really good event for 4 days. Not as expensive. It's like £700-800 you can attend. Really good for the things what you are working on, the behavior changes and all these things. Like you would see like a whole different level. I don't know whatever but like it's really good. Um, so yeah, so after the event, I'm like, okay, I'll stop drinking, because I was drinking like a beers. And I'm like, no, I don't want to drink. This doesn't serve me anyway. So I stopped. Uh, and then I just told myself, I'm going to drink more water and just start going for walks, just to have a little bit more movement. And literally in a 1 month, I lost like 8 kilograms. Uh, and then had much more energy. That the reason I was doing it to get more energy, so I
Mhm.
have more vitality and I can do more things. And obviously, as the time progressed, I've been on that same event last year, which was 2025, and I'm like, okay, I changed that, I changed that. Now I can add on more things to it, and it was much easier now to add on it different things. So it's like a work in progress, but yeah, I just wanted to say like these small things, even like start walking. It's like, no, don't start running, just start walking. Now I don't
Yeah,
walk, now I run. But it's like
yeah.
if I would just start running, I'd burn out.
Mhm. That's exactly it, and that's the problem I think most people that's another one actually I'd say a lot of people come to me with. They'll actually be doing too much. They'll be trying to do everything too much right from the get-go, and they can't get that consistency because it's not realistic for them to sustain that. They're trying to, exercise 5, 6 days a week and, do all these incredible habits, and it actually sometimes less is more, and trying to tell people that you don't have to exercise that much. Your body still needs time to recover, that's really important as well. And yeah, like you said, like these small changes do go such a long way. Like I just had a client start with me this week, and within the first few days, she's like, I have so much more energy. I'm already sleeping better. She's feeling so much better, just even making small changes in those first few days. And that's how powerful these habits can really be.
Mm,
Uh, so it's really helpful to just start small and just build upon those habits as time goes on. It really
yeah.
is.
Mm. Also, one thing what you mentioned about like people sometimes exercise too much. So, but also another thing which I've learned over there. I heard it for 4 years, and then I act on it. So they were speaking about pH in our body. S- So, would you be okay to tell us more about pH, maybe, and if you would be okay with that? How people
What do
are
you,
sometimes
so
like
sorry.
they're low. in like a lot of people that they don't have a balanced pH in their body, so they are more
Mhm.
acidic side because a lot of
Yeah.
food, coffee, all these things are acidic. So even though they exercise six times a week, if their pH would be in the level where it should be, they could exercise less and have actually better results.
Yeah, so that is not something I'm really hugely clued up on when it comes to that side of scientific side of things, but exactly what you said, like, everyone is so different in how their bodies do respond to exercise. So this is why it's so important to get as much information from a client as possible, because if you think about, like, it's important for me to know a client's lifestyle and what their other commitments are and how much stress they're under, because external stress is really important to manage, because when you exercise, that's, although it's good stress, it's still stress on the body, right? So we need to make sure that you're not uber stressed everywhere else, and then you're going to the gym or you're going for a really hard run and you're just hammering your body and you're causing more stress. Your cortisol levels are through the roof, like roof. That's going to help. It's not going to help your nervous system in any way, and it's not going to be actually good for your body. It's probably going to
Yeah.
be the opposite. So it's important to look at stress factors as well, and just, yeah, like I said, everyone's completely different in how their body responds, but more often than not, I would say, like, less is more, because recovery is such a key component to, your overall health and well-being and your progress, no matter what it may be. And even if you were somebody who is training for, like, a marathon or an event, yes, you'd be training more, but recovery and sleep is still really, really important, because if you're not recovering properly, you're not going to be to perform properly, and you need to also have that time to recover in order for your body to um, repair, you know, and also, like, absorb the right nutrients when you are nourishing your body with whole nutritious foods. Like, you need to create that environment for your body to be able to thrive, essentially. Like, I always say to people, like, your body is essentially your home. It is like a plant. You have to treat it like a plant. You have to water it, you have to nurture it, you have to give it sunlight, you have to feed it, you have to create those optimal environments in order for your body and your mind to be able to thrive optimally, essentially. So
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't think about the recovery. I wasn't thinking about it as well as much before. I remember, I think a month ago, I went for a longer run, like a bigger run. It was quite big for me, 15 kilometers. And I had this hoop, right? And then when I did it, it says like, oh, wow, that was a big achievement. Now make sure, to drink enough of water and eat protein in the next an hour. But then for the next week, we should have recovery runs. And then if you want to do bigger one again, so let's do it in a week time. But in during whole week, you just need to do some small recovery runs. Don't push it because you're gonna overwork. I'm like, oh, cool. It just tells all these things. I'm like, I didn't know.
Mhm.
So it's very smart, like all these different tools as well, which we can use and monitor for the health.
Absolutely.
Mm. And so what is your plan like now, obviously, with the speaking? Where is it you want to take it? Do you have like some big goals, or you want to stay more local in the UK? You are thinking to go outside of the UK, and
Mhm.
do you have some kind of goals like that?
Yeah, so I still very much always be working with my clients, that will still run. However, yeah, I have a big goal of eventually one day standing on stage and doing some form of talk workshop. But what I would love to do is start running wellbeing workshops for companies. Um, to help educate their staff on the importance of well-being in the workplace, and also just looking after yourself and what that then does for your focus and your performance in the workplace. Because I
Hmm.
think, okay, it's all about your body and how you look, when actually it's not. It's actually about how you feel and how you show up day to day. So I love to expand and talk more about that, but in line with that, I'd also love to go into companies and talk about how to prioritize your health whilst detaching your self-worth and your identity from your work. Because I think for a lot of people, especially those who are entrepreneurs, who are high performing roles, we we don't maybe don't focus on our health and well-being as much as we should, or we struggle to, because we're so good at doing and throwing ourselves into work, because that's all we've ever known, you know? So I want to tie that in somehow and speak about how to actually feel safe and comfortable enough to rediscover who you are outside of your work.
Mm.
Prioritize your own health and well-being, and the impact that will have then on your quality of life, on how you feel, and also how you show up in the workplace as well. So that's my big goal eventually, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's good. Perfect. So when are you starting?
No. I guess, like, I mean, joining the PSA was the first step, and just making these connections is huge. I've actually started creating a pitch deck to send to some companies, so that is almost finished.
Mhm.
So I'm getting the ball rolling. Messy action. I'm all about messy action, so it started. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I would highly recommend, definitely, like, you could utilize the PSA for the showcases, like, which hopefully you will do also in Edinburgh when you tell me which time, which date we can schedule it, and then you can go to all the different regions and do the showcases, because you're gonna practice, you're gonna get the feedback, but then you are also sharing the message what you do, and that's important because then all the people are hearing it, and then they're like, hey, you want to do that? I'm actually done thing for one company about, I don't know, leadership, and I could introduce you. Maybe they would want something like that. And it's all about these connections and relationships, especially when it comes to speaking. Like, if you speak with any speaker, it's like 80% of their business, maybe more, it's through recommendations and through connections. um, not not many of them, it just comes to you naturally. It's like somebody heard you speak, they liked it, and they kind of passed you business or something like that. It's kind of a strange kind of a world of the speaking. So and you will realize actually much smaller than it is. Like, when I started traveling more internationally and seeing people from all over, like in Australia in March, and there was like all these associations. The UK was one of them, the associations, and then you meet them on another event, or and then somebody introduces you to someone else, like, yeah, I already know that person. So there is not as many professional speakers who are actually doing it actively. So once you are in it longer, then you will realize that actually it's not that big, that many people. So there is a lot of opportunities
Yeah.
for that, but a lot of them it comes through connections, relationships, and this is how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think and quite a few people have said that I've spoken to who are in the industry like yourself, and I love that. I think that's the most powerful way to do it. And I think it's just so nice making those connections, and people are so willing to help is what I found, and it's so lovely. You know, people are so willing to help, like much like yourself dropping me a message asking me to come on. Like that was amazing, you know, and it is. I think it's just so amazing to see how much people are willing to help and just make those connections. And yeah, it goes a long way. So yeah, I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just gonna slowly wrap it up. We have like a half an hour in. Um, if there was anything difficult in your life or business in the past, you don't need to share what was it, but how did you overcome it? What helped you in that situation, or who or what? Like, what was the thing? How you get out from that? If you had that situation, which I believe you had.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. I've been through probably every single thing you can go through in business. I've been through, but I think I'll try and not talk too long about this because I could talk about it for a long time, but I went through a really I guess big change since 2023. Between 2023 and 26, I went through a big shift. Like I was changing a lot. I was going through a lot at home in my personal life, and trying to run a business when your personal life is not great is really, really difficult. Um, but it also shapes you as a person, and that's what I've found. Like you almost in the moment you can't really be grateful for it because you're like, this sucks. But I believe that everything does happen for a reason, and you know these things in life actually make you stronger as a person and actually more resilient and stronger as a business owner as well. And I have evolved hugely in those 3 years alone, even in the last year, and it's shifted the way that I run my business and also the way I work with my clients, and also allowed me to expand into this new and exciting opportunity with speaking. I think had I not been through that hard time, I wouldn't have had the strength and resilience and the drive to be like, this is what I want to do now, you know? Um, but I do believe there's like a direct correlation when you run your own business to what happens in your personal life. If you're happy in your personal life, your business tends to be doing well and vice versa. Um, so I think, yeah, to answer your question, like I've been through a lot in the last few years, but I think my piece of advice is like just keep showing up, and even if it's hard running a business in those times, but you just don't give up. If you've got a dream, a passion, a drive for something, allow yourself that grace time if you are going through a difficult time, but also see it as just a season. Like life happens in seasons, and sometimes the hard seasons actually have to happen to make the next season better. So yeah, that would be my piece of advice. Just keep going.
And so I'm assuming that you sort out the personal things in order
Yeah,
to
for sure.
grow.
Yeah, so I think there was a period of time where I was not in the best of places personally and kind of mentally was really struggling, but very much took about a year to still run the business and still do what I could, but very much focusing on myself. Hence the passion to want to speak about this from a public speaking standpoint, because I very much used to be somebody who the business came first all the time. Like before anything, before me, before my relationship, before my family and friends, it was always the business. And I was very good at being in hustle mode and doing, 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 to the point where I burnt myself out, and I didn't know who I was outside of my business. Like if you had asked me, Danny, who are you? Without me saying what I do, I would really struggle with that. I'd really struggle. So I took about a year to really hone in on who I am. Who am I without my business? What do I actually like doing? Who is Danny outside of being a health and wellbeing coach? And I slowed down a lot, and it did have an impact on the business, but I also needed that to happen to be able to reconnect with myself, my values, and get me back to a better place. Because if I wasn't feeling my best self or I wasn't healthy, how was I supposed to run the business in the way that I wanted to? Um, so in that time, yeah, taking time to slow down, to reconnect with myself and focus more on my health and well-being, I then was able to pour back into the business again and kind of rebuild it. So yeah, it's important to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think um, in the personal stuff needs to be sorted 100%, especially intimate relationships, because when that is not working, then it's very difficult to do anything else. Like run a business for sure. If somebody is employed, yeah, you come, you do your thing, but like I've been in that situation a long time ago, and it's like you don't think about anything else. Like you are there, it's tough, and you don't want to. That is like it's very difficult. So I think one of the advice in here, which I'm hearing, is like sort out your personal stuff, so you can focus and grow the business or do whatever you want.
Yeah,
And yeah, like take some time to realize who you are or work on yourself and give yourself, because not just to be overwhelmed of on the business.
yeah.
Amazing. Thank you very much
Thank
for sharing all of this information today with me, and again having a chance to interview and getting to know you a little bit more. It was a pleasure to have you.
thank you so much for having me. That was great. Thank you.